We are looking today to find the critical numbers of this function right here. It's a nice little polynomial. Now remember, when we're looking for critical numbers, and we'll abbreviate by crit numbers, we're looking places where either our function at a certain point is equal to 0 or our derivative of our function does not exist. So those are the two things that we're going to look for critical numbers. We want to find those elements C, so C here stands for a number, where our derivative is 0, or where our function just derivative doesn't exist. So to do this, the first thing we need to do is find our derivative. So let's start off with that. We are going to bring our exponent down and subtract 1 to make our new exponent. And in our last term here, we're just going to, that x will disappear because when we subtract 1 to get our new exponent, we would get x to the 0th power, which is 1. So let's simplify this a bit. It is going to be 6 times x squared minus 6x minus 36. Now we want to set this derivative equal to 0, and we want to solve it. Notice it's a polynomial. In fact, this is a quadratic polynomial, so it's going to exist everywhere because polynomials don't have places where there's issues like that. There is one thing that we can do to make our lives a little bit easier before we go any further, though, and that is to notice that there's a copy of 6 in every single one of our terms. So we're just going to take that 6 out, and we're going to pull it out front. Right? And when we have that, notice our last term, 6 times 6 gives us 36. So we are left with 6 times the quantity x squared minus x minus 6, which is going to be a lot easier to factor. So we're going to set this equal to 0, x squared minus x minus 6. And we are going to factor our quadratic here. If you'll recall, what we want is two numbers that multiply to negative 6 and add to negative 1. So that middle number we're going to add to, the last number we are going to multiply to. Let's start putting that information in. We know we have x's on both of them. Because we are multiplying to a negative number, we know that one of our signs has to be positive and the other negative. And because we're going for a negative 6, one of the nice things to do for that is to say, okay, 6 factors into 2 times 3 or 1 times 6. And we want the difference between those two numbers to be 1, because when we multiply them, when we work, we need those numbers to add to negative 1. So we're going to take a 3 and a 2. That is going to be the one that will work for us because those are 1 apart. Now the last thing we have to figure out is where's our positive and where's our negative. We notice we want a negative 1 at the end, so we want a bigger number in front of the negative. So we are going to end up with 0 is equal to 6 times x plus 2 times x minus 3. Now technically, remember, this is kind of a side note, this is one of the lovely things, if a times b is equal to 0, then either a is equal to 0 or b is equal to 0. And if you have 3 things that you are multiplying, same thing is going to happen. And this is an or, not an and. But the same thing goes on here. Right, 6 is equal to 0. Well, 6 is never equal to 0. So we can ignore the 6 when we're working with a situation like this, which makes our lives a lot easier. So we have x plus 2 is equal to 0, or x minus 3 is equal to 0. Solving for x, we get x is equal to negative 2, and x is equal to a positive 3. So remember, those signs are going to change when we finalize our solutions here. So this means that our critical numbers are x is equal to a negative 2 and a positive 3. And those are the only two critical numbers for this particular problem. Thank you for listening.